the jungle. Who wants to smoke? I didn't think so. Use a joke, about to get your ankles broke. Chasing C notes. Chasing C notes. Welcome to the jungle. Who wants to smoke? I ain't think so. Use a joke, about to get your ankles broke. Chasing C notes.
Welcome to Chasing C Notes, a podcast. I'm your co-host Sirik, and I'm always joined by my co-host Larry. What's good, Larry?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the NBA and anything Boston Celtics. This is episode 24. We are recording this Sunday morning. Friday, the Boston Celtics were kicked out. Overall, Larry, how are you feeling? I know this is... Well, we'll talk about it. Don't worry, we'll talk about it. But overall, how are you feeling?
It was rough after losing the first two games by just bad decisions. And a little bit of light came in when we won game 3, but it just looked like it was going to be too much of a hill to climb. And then game 4, we were playing well, but so were the Knicks. And then Tatum went down. And game 5, you got another boost because now the bench was going to play and fight for Tatum. And then all of a sudden game 6 comes and you realize it was too much of a task. And, it goes back to game 1 and game 2. Like, how do you let the same thing happen twice in a row? I can see losing game 1 that way, but game 2, it was like an identical map. Like, did you get outcoached? Like, that's the only thing I can think of at this point because you had the better team.
Well, I think after game number 4, Tatum got hurt. I started tweeting, should Joe Maz be fired? And then I was like, well, I put that in the ether, so I don't know. Then I came to my senses, but I was just so angry with that game. So we'll talk about it, I'm sure. So today's show, we're going to have NBA news. We're going to talk about round 2, Boston, New York. And then we're going to talk about the conference finals, or the semis finals, and we'll see what teams we like. So let me start with the NBA news. And Larry, the NBA lottery, the Mavs got the number 1 pick. Are you at all shocked? Do you think it was a conspiracy theory? Like, where are you? Do you think they deserve it? Do you think Utah deserves it? Like, is this working, this whole, like, lottery by pick, percentage-wise, you get more balls or whatever? So where are you on this?
I like the fact that we have the play-in now because teams are not trying to tank to get the lottery draft pick. They're like, you know what, we have a chance to get into the playoffs and make a run, which helps, ticket sales during that time frame. I'm shocked that the Mavs got it because they had a very small window to do it, but that has happened before where teams would jump over other teams. And let's be honest, the Mavs community needed this. They really did. They're, not true Mavs fans, but I was really hurting for them when everything happened, everything went down. And then, of course, they lost Kyrie right after that. And then, of course, AD, was hurt for a while as well. So it was a tough run for the Mavs. Now they can try to capture the flag, try to rebuild, get AD and Kyrie back to healthy, and then go for a revamp. I know they're going to make some more changes. I think every team's going to make changes, but I'm glad they got some type of victory after that season.
Yeah, I was, I don't know. I'm not a big believer in the conspiracy theory. I just feel bad for Cooper Flag because that franchise is not exactly, doesn't inspire change to me. It doesn't say, hey, welcome Cooper Flag. We're going to do the best we can to make sure you succeed. To me, it's kind of worrisome that he ended up with that organization. Yes, it's a feel-good story, but I don't know if he's going to sign an extension with them. I don't know if he's going to be traded a la Luka style. So I don't know. I'm happy for the Mavs, for the fan base. Anyways, I just don't know if that's a good organization overall. I don't know if they have a good owners. I don't know if Nico is gonna mess it up again. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm on the wait and see carousel with that organization because I just don't know. But I wish Cooper Flag the best. I'm not trying to hate. Larry, the other set of news: Michael Jordan to NBC. He's gonna be a commentator. Is that gonna be good for the NBA or is it gonna be bad for the NBA?
I mean, we're still experimenting with Tom Brady, so I don't know if goats make good commentators or not. I just think when you get to that level of status, there's got to be something else laid out. I know that coaching doesn't work either. We tried that. I think Larry Bird did the best out of anyone, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he is. I don't know how he is with commentary, but it seems like they're trying everybody now. So,
well, I think I haven't read enough on it, but I think he's gonna be in studio commentator. So he's not gonna be at the games. I know Tom Brady travels for the games, but to be honest, Larry, I think having Michael Jordan kind of like commentate on games, it kind of diminishes the whole legendary status, right? To me, it's like he's kind of like a enigma, kind of like a mystery. I don't know if I want Michael Jordan commentating games. Now that we had the Tom Brady experience, I don't think I want the best player in my view, the best NBA player that ever lived to be commentating games. I just feel like it's kind of like a risky move. And not to the NBA. The NBA is probably going to love it. But I don't know. It just takes that mystery blanket off, that mystery curtain off. But,
yeah, and is he going to do NBA? Is he going to do NASCAR? Like, where is he going to be commentating? Is he going to do both?
Yeah, he's from North Carolina, so you never know. I think it's going to be NBA for sure. But, I mean, they have Michael Jordan. They have Carmelo Anthony coming in. NBC is definitely putting the best foot forward. The whole Michael Jordan thing, I'm just like, I'm glad for NBC. I don't know if I'm gonna be happy for Michael Jordan. So that's another one. Like, let's to me anyway, it's gonna be a wait and see. The other news that I want to touch on is, Larry, why are Knicks fans acting like this? I know it's been 25 years. Since maybe 26 years, since they went to the 99 finals. It was shortchanged. San Antonio Spurs kind of took over. But a lot of these kids, I'm going to say 25 and under, 30 and under, they don't know how to act. So why do you think this is happening?
It's not really inspired for me. You can't compare the Spreewell, being an 8 seed coming out of nowhere and just running teams and just playing with your heart. Like, that team was a true diehard team. And this team, other than Brunson and some inspired play by Towns, and of course, Mikal Bridges, overall, they could have played better this season. They could have played better, and they wouldn't have had to, deal with, what they dealt with not beating the top teams. Luckily, they had, Tibbs, and they had had seen Celtics 4 times before they got to the playoffs, and they knew that they could, play this game, and it worked. It worked to a charm. I don't think they wanted to go down 20 points, but I think they figured it out towards the end of the game of how to make some adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know, first of all, I don't prescribe to what's going on right now with the Knicks fans. This is totally foreign to me. I'm like, why they act like this? You haven't even made the finals. You haven't even made the conference finals, and you act in this way. It's a very, very thirsty kind of situation. And like you said, that 99 team was a likable team. That team had hustle. I know it was a short year. I think that was the lockout year, but still, that team had heart. I don't know if I can say the same about this Knicks team. And we'll talk about the conference semis the conference final, the conference semifinals, or is it the finals?
Conference finals.
Conference finals.
ACF.
Thank you. So we'll talk about that shortly, but I don't prescribe to what the Knicks fans are doing. And thinking about Knicks fans, let's just quickly review round 2. We said at the top of the podcast that the Celtics should not got down 2-0. Should not got down 20 point leads, just evaporate. So who's at fault in your? Is it the coaching or is it the players? Or is it KP not showing up? Like, who's at fault here?
I would say in game 1, it's the players, but in game 2, it's the coaching. Because it was the same recipe. Like, you see what's happening. Like, you go up 20, you're not playing well, but you're up 20. And yes, you're making mistakes. You're still doing turnovers, but you're still up 20 because you just have better opportunities at every pretty much position. But then you stop making the shots. I mean, there was a point where they went through a drought where they just weren't scoring. And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, it's time for a timeout. It's time to, try something different. Like, and they did it in game 5 where you saw them like, okay, making assists, getting the team involved. I just don't understand, why they didn't make that change. I didn't like the hack of Mitchell. I felt like it messed up the rhythm and the chemistry.
Yeah, I don't know why they came up with that strategy. That was not a good strategy.
I mean, that would have been a strategy for the Knicks to do. You want to do that when you're playing a team that you're when you're an underdog. You don't need to do that when you're a favorite. And so I didn't like that. It made it feel like they were giving the Knicks more credit than what they had, like they were a better team. And they were not a better team than us, but they proved that they were because we weren't prepared. We were not prepared. I don't think we were even following Mitchell at the right points. We started doing it better towards the end, but it just became a too much of a joke, and it just took the confidence and the sail out of the winds. And they're going by what their coach is saying, but I definitely didn't like that. And again, you go down 2-0. You're running into problems because you can't make any mistakes for the rest of the series. And they made a mistake in game 4, and they made mistakes obviously in game 6.
This is obviously game 6. Tatum's points were dearly missed. But do you think that Derek White and Drew Holiday should have shown up for that game? Because they're, especially Drew Holiday, because he's the veteran. He knows he's been in the spot before. Like, what do you think happened? They just missed Tatum, or they just didn't show up? Or it's a combination of both?
We all know that Drew Holiday and White are the heartbeat of what makes the Celtics so well, that backcourt. But I just felt like Holiday something wasn't right. And I know we'll get to that when we talk about KP, but Holiday really wasn't right at all. He had a few defensive plays and a few offensive plays, but we all know that Holiday was the factor. It's why we got the championship. It's why Milwaukee won a championship. So we don't know Holiday is the factor. But when he's not right, it we do take a blow. And when White's not doing what he's doing, it affects us as well. And you can't come with 34 points and then come back the next game really with double digits. I think he got maybe 8 points. It's going to be a huge factor, especially when you're missing Tatum. Obviously, they knew they weren't going to let Cornette just go into the middle and do what he did. They shut that down. And once Cornette was done, there should have been another plan. It should have been a plan B. And I felt like when Cornette got shut down, there was nothing else that we could counteract with. I mean, hell, bring in the other center that we have. I think he would have done well, So I don't know. I just think that there was a lot of miscues. And then when you have so many miscues and then you still got a chance to win the game, you go back to coaching. Again, every time I look at this series, I always go back to game 1 and game 2. I feel like that is where we had the mistake. That is where, and yeah, a lot of teams, underdogs, will come and take game one because their team's not ready. But the Celtics have been known to play into their talent, playing to their level of talent every time they play a game. And you can't keep doing that. You should have just knocked them in the face. Cleveland did the same thing. OKC did the same thing. And that's the reason why Cleveland's out. And that's the reason why OKC has got to play a game 7. These teams, they got to just punch these kids in the mouth and then let's go.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I'm just like, this team had so much talent. And we'll get to the fact that it's probably going to be broken up, but this team had so much talent that you're right. When you're up 20 points, just put the team away. But they kept shooting, even though they were up 20, and then they weren't going in. Josh Hart, who had a triple-double on Game 6, and he played really, really well. When they were in Boston, when the New York was in Boston, I just feel like, and this is what, Joe Maz, this is third year?
Yes.
Third year. Yeah, he has the right mentality, but that strategy, following Mitchell, of just keep taking 3-pointers, even though you're up 20 points, they're not going in. There was just a lot of mistakes that, you're right, there should have been an adjustment. It should have been a plan B, but there wasn't. It felt like there wasn't a plan B. Yes, I was impressed that they went small and they got a victory on Game 5, but the Knicks were going to be ready for that in Game 6, but you still went small. It's almost like a game of chess. You got to be 2 or 3 steps before anything happens. I was just really disappointed. Now we find out that JB has a bum knee that possibly can need surgery. But are you more disappointed in KP overall?
Yes. Well, number one, Missoula. KP is number 2. Number 3, I would have to say the bench. The combination of Hauser didn't show up, and we never really made changes to the bench. And when we actually needed it, because when you have injuries, I mean, Tatum missed a game earlier, and you got to have people stepping up. And you just relying on Pritchard, that's not fair to him. He busted his butt all year, got 6 man. But, I just feel like those are the 3 things. I don't want to harp too much on JT and JB, because I already knew coming in they were both injured. I mean, at this point, everyone has an injury. Yes, maybe JB and JT injury was more severe. I think JT was an ankle. Was JT an ankle or no?
No, the wrist.
It was a wrist.
Yeah.
JT was a wrist. But obviously, he was able to kind of go back into Superman mode by game 4. And he just used up so much of his energy trying to keep the Celtics in the game. And that's another reason why I think he got injured, is he was really overextending himself. He was playing like Superman. And someone must have told him he was Superman, because, he thought he could do that for the entire game. And we saw what the result was, kind of like when we saw what the Lakers try to play their whole team for the whole game.
Yeah, overall, this series, listen, my hat's off to the New York Knicks, but let's be honest. I think the odds were negative 900 for the Celtics to win this series. And it kept dropping. They finally lost, but I was just like, just your best players were injured. So that means that you have to have your bench ready. And I feel like Pritchard only showed up maybe a couple of games, not all games. This was a 6-man of the year, but they couldn't count on him on every game to show up. And then it was just like a 7-man rotation, basically.
Yeah. No credit to the Knicks for me. If you want to get some credit, beat the Pacers. You just beat the Boston Celtics, the defending champions. Beat the Pacers. If you lose to the Pacers like Cleveland did, then no one's going to remember your team. No one's going to remember what you did. No one's going to say you almost were there because you didn't even make it past the ECF. And then if you beat the Pacers and you at least can beat OKC, that's who I'm thinking is probably going to be there at least one game, then maybe I'll give you some credit, because you're outmatched. But, the overall goal is to win the chip. And if the Knicks can't do that, then no one's going to remember this team.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I don't think the Knicks are good enough to maybe... Well, we'll talk about it, but I don't think that they are good enough to get the chip. I just don't think so. I think there's a lot of what ifs in that team. But then you could say the same about the Boston Celtics. We were sure thing that they were going to repeat, and they just didn't show up. So let's talk about the matchups, Larry, and let's talk about the Indiana against New York. So who do you have winning that series?
Those two teams are really tight. Like, they're neck and neck. And it's going to be about momentum. And I would think New York has the momentum to carry over. Yes, this game still could go 7 games. But I think New York has home court. They do. So New York has home court, so that'll be in New York. And New York plays well in New York. So I'm saying Knicks in 7.
Yeah, I also picked the Knicks to win this series. Even though I really, really like Indiana, and I know I like the Cleveland bench, but I feel like this bench is a lot stronger than Cleveland's bench. But I still got the Knicks winning. I just don't know if you get down 20 points against Indiana. I don't know if there's a comeback.
Right.
I just don't know. So we'll have to see. But I'm going to go with the New York Knicks only for that reason, Larry, because they do have home court advantage. And I want to see Reggie Miller, how he commentates this game. Yeah. So those are my two things that I want to see in this game. Can they come back from being down? Can they run with Indiana? And, what is Reggie Miller going to commentate?
Right.
The other series, which we actually have a Game 7 today, Minnesota versus OKC or Denver. Who do you have in that series?
I have OKC. They were the number 1 team in the West all year. And I just think Minnesota got in. I don't think Minnesota should have dropped so low. And that's probably why we're looking at them like, wow, what's the 7th seed doing in here? But I think, or 6th seed, I think they were. Also, I just think that Denver, because they lost their coach, even though Joker's coming in and trying to coach the team, I don't think they're going to have enough. And are they missing Gordon this game, or are they not?
I just saw that they are gonna miss. Aaron Gordon for this game.
All right, so if there's no Gordon, the advantage is definitely OKC. Their number 2 has not been scoring well. He's got to pick it up. So I think that's Jalen. He's got to pick it up. Yeah, he's got to pick it up. You can't just rely on your MVP. You got to pick it up, and you got to show your bench has got to show up. Everything OKC has been doing all year, they got to do it. If not, it's over. They can obviously know about Cleveland, know about Boston, so they don't want to be the next ones that played well all year and then they're not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I got OKC winning Game 7, and then I got OKC winning the series against Minnesota. Listen, I underestimated Denver. I underestimated Minnesota. I thought that the Lakers were going to handle them, and then I really think Golden State was going to handle them, but I thought that, in the future, OKC is going to have a better defense, and I think that they're going to throw bodies at Ant-Man. So, it's saying that What was the biggest surprise to you, Larry, of this playoff so far, other than Boston losing to the Knicks?
I think it's a combination. It's a combination of Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Teams that we have counted out, teams that we thought would only go so far, and they have proved that they can beat some of the best teams. And Denver could be another one of those teams if they end up winning today. But we'll see if it ends up being those four teams. And I think people are going to really look at things differently because these teams they got better benches. That's the bottom line. That's why they're there.
Yeah, I think Minnesota, OKC, Denver is going to be a man short today, but they just have better benches. Indiana, better benches. I feel like you have to be able to go 8, 9, 10 deep. I know New York Knicks doesn't do that. I think McBride is the only one that comes out the bench for them, right? And Mitchell, sorry. McBride and Mitchell, that bench is shortened, but sometimes campaign comes up, but I feel like he's a hack. He's out there to hack somebody. But you have to trust your bench. I don't know. I want to see what happens, when the Knicks face Indiana. I want to see what happened with OKC faces Minnesota. This is going to be interesting. We're talking about potentially the Final Four here. So we'll see how it turns out. Larry, before we end this episode, do you think JB and JT come back next year?
Just because we got new ownership, just because we're already maxed out, just because that we had everyone somewhat healthy and we still couldn't win. I mean, I don't want people to understand that, yes, we lost Tatum, but we were already down 3-1. That game was, I think we were down like 9 or 10 points at that point when Tatum went out. So the chances of us coming back and winning that game was pretty unlikely. And we already lost 2. And Tatum didn't miss this series. He missed the series before that. So I just think that the Celtics are going to come back differently. Yes, we'll keep some key people, but I think there's going to be some changes. And I think those changes are going to make a ripple effect because I think every team is going to make some changes. We'll see, July 1st. The draft is going to be what it is, but I think July 1st when free agency opens up, we'll definitely see some heavy movement. And no one's untouchable. I mean, if they move Luka, that means anyone can be moved at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, JB making almost $50 million a year compared to Tatum making, I think he makes 29. And I know he got an extension, so that salary is going to probably go up. I just feel like they're going to break this team. I don't know. I think Brad Stevens is going to make a lot of moves. There's some people that, and I don't want to point out a KP. I think he got us a title, but I think he's expendable. Depends how Holiday comes back. I think he's expendable. I think Derek White just got an extension, but he was basically Brunson used him. I thought his defense was going to be better, but he was used. I don't know. I feel this team came up short, and I'm not talking about Cleveland. I'm talking about Boston came up short. I don't know. I know that they don't want to pay the luxury tax, but break this team. Obviously, the players don't want to go. I think I saw Drew Holiday saying, "I know we're still in the window," and I don't know if that window is going to be there anymore.
Yeah, again, I don't look at Cleveland and Boston the same way because they did lose Darius Garland, and I think Mobley even missed the game, and then of course Donovan Mitchell was just trying to play through pain. So I don't look at that the same. I mean, Indiana did pretty much the same thing to what happened to Boston, where they just won those first 2 games with some lucky shots down the line, but. No, I still think Cleveland could have. I don't know. I just look at it two different ways. I think Boston had an opportunity. They faltered on it, and yes, they were the top two teams and they didn't make it through, but. Maybe it's the window for Indiana and New York now. Maybe it's time for them to step up. We all know Milwaukee missed their window. They're going to make some changes. Philly's been long gone. So a lot of these, there's going to be some movement that's going to really impact, just like with the Jimmy Butler trade. I feel like there's going to be some movement that's going to really impact some different teams.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this summer goes. I'm curious to see. Obviously, we're going to have a new champion. It's just very hard to go back-to-back in the but we're going to have a new champion. I can tell you right now, it's not going to be the Knicks. It's not going to be the Knicks.
Well, I mean, barring injuries, it could be the Knicks, I mean, if something happens to one of the Pacers and something happens to maybe OKC or whoever ends up being there, yeah, the Knicks could run it.
A lot of things would have to go their way for them. Let's get in the finals and then we'll decide, because I still don't. I feel like we haven't seen the best of Towns yet. He fouls out too much or he commits too many fouls. I want to see him get focused. I want to see him get focused, and I want to see how the Pacers play them. But I want to see overall what happens this summer. Boston Celtics with the new champion, all that stuff. So even though I'm down in we're 2 days removed from being kicked off the playoffs, I think this team, I don't know if I can close the window, but it's just money. Money's going to determine what they do.
Who won the trade? There was a trade with New York and Minnesota. They're both in the conference finals. Who won the trade?
I can't decide until I see who's in the final.
Got it. What if neither one of them make it to the finals?
Whoever makes it, whether the Knicks or the Timberwolves, I think one of them will win the trade, but I can't. Because right now, yes, getting to the semifinals is great. Conference semis is great, but conference finals is great. But I wanted to see who makes it to the final. Right.
That could be tough.
That could be tough. That could be very, very tough.
Yeah. Well, if Randall and Towns play hard, they could do it. So we'll see which one is loving their new team.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Larry. So episode 24 is in the books. We'll do another episode 25 right before we preview the finals. So in that event, what are you gonna watch for sports now? Are you gonna watch the Red Sox, or are you gonna what's gonna take your time now?
Well, I think I'm thinking about doing some traveling this summer. I got 4 more days of school. I think I'm gonna start some traveling, and then we'll see. And the Yankees are playing really well right now. Both the Red Sox and Braves are pushing. They just had a series together. We'll see. I don't know. WNBA, I watched a lot of that last year because of the new rookies. We'll see what happens this year. So I'm just going to be bouncing around, but just staying busy. What about yourself? I mean, we don't have Olympics this year, so.
I know, we don't have no Olympics. I'm going to keep an eye on the Red Sox just because it's really the only sport currently interested in, and just keep the girls busy this summer and just wait for the NFL to start. I mean, really, we're talking about 2 months, June and July. So yeah, I just got to fill the time, fill the void, like they say, for 2 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for joining, Larry. And one day I'm gonna stop calling you Ron. Thank you for joining, Larry. We'll talk on the next episode. Okay. Peace.
All right, man. Be easy. Peace.
Hi, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode, Chasing Dino's podcast. If you have any concerns or questions, feel free to email us at simsportsmedia@gmail.com. And please subscribe to this channel, this page, whatever it is, platform that you listen. Peace.